There comes a moment in every life where confusion, delay, and uncertainty whisper the lie that nothing is happening. Yet beneath the surface, beyond the appearances, something greater is unfolding. A divine orchestration is already underway on your behalf. Everything is turning in your favor, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because God works through the unseen long before anything becomes visible. Life responds not to the noise of fear, but to the quiet conviction held in the depths of your being, the state you occupy within, the inner feeling you return to again and again, becomes the instruction that the universe must obey. When you dare to assume that things are working out for you, that assumption becomes a command, and the one who created the universe fulfills his commands with precision. What you desire is not random. It is a whisper from God, a signal that the fulfillment already exists within you. The moment you feel the desire, the solution is born. The path is prepared. The way is opened. The invisible machinery of life begins shifting, aligning, and rearranging everything necessary to bring the unseen into the seen. But you must persist, not in struggle, not in force, but in inner acceptance. Your victory is secured the moment you claim it within. The outer world, no matter how stubborn it appears, has no choice but to return the reflection of your inner certainty. Every delay, every detour, every closed door is part of a sacred reorganization that is leading you to the version of life that matches the state you have chosen. This is why you must not panic when things look opposite of what you prayed for. That is often the moment right before the breakthrough, the moment when the old reality collapses to make space for the new. The shaking is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that God is rearranging everything for your good. Stand firm. Hold the feeling of the fulfilled desire. Let the inner conviction become more real to you than any temporary obstacle. The world outside is simply catching up to the truth you already established within. Everything is turning in your favor. Doors you thought were closed will open. People who overlooked you will suddenly recognize you. Opportunities that seemed impossible will enter naturally. Every step you take is guided. Every moment is supported. You are not forgotten. You are not behind, and you are not alone. God is working in ways you cannot yet see. So rise today with confidence, not the confidence of the outer world, but the confidence of one who knows the end is already written. Your blessing is not in the distance. It is unfolding right now. Your breakthrough is not delayed. It is aligning perfectly. And your victory is not uncertain. It is guaranteed. Hold the vision. Trust the process. Rest in the knowing. Everything is turning in your favor. God is working. And your inner assumption is the seed that bends outer circumstances in your favor. Because everything you experience begins first as an invisible state within you. Life is not responding to what you hope for or even what you occasionally think about. It responds to the deep subconscious assumptions you carry. These assumptions act like commands, shaping how you interpret events, how you react, and ultimately how the world mirrors itself back to you. When you hold an assumption long enough, it becomes the lens through which you see life, and life, in turn, complies with that lens. Assumptions are not weak wishes. They are rooted feelings of this is who I am, or this is how life is for me. Once accepted, they no longer feel like thoughts. They feel like truth. And the moment something feels like truth, it begins to shape reality. Just like a seed planted in fertile soil, your assumption is planted in the deeper mind. Quietly, subtly, invisibly, nothing may seem to change at first, but beneath the surface, the conditions begin aligning. People will show up differently. Opportunities you once overlooked will suddenly stand out. Ideas will come to you with clarity. Your emotions will shift. Your decisions will become more aligned. You won't even realize how much your behavior, energy, and perception are being shaped by the new inner belief. This is why the outer world bends, because your inner state moves first, and everything outside eventually must respond. When you assume something long enough, you start acting like it's already done. You think from the state instead of about the state. For example, someone who assumes they are successful doesn't wait for money to feel abundant. They carry an inner security, a quiet confidence, and this confidence influences their actions. Doors open not because they force them, but because their inner certainty creates a vibration of readiness that life recognizes. The world does not change by effort alone. It changes because your assumption determines what you expect, what you accept, and what you allow yourself to experience. When you assume life is working out for you, setbacks lose their power. They stop feeling like endings and start feeling like rearrangements. You walk with a calm sense of direction, even when the path is unclear, because your inner world has already accepted the outcome. Every great shift begins in the unseen. Seeds do not sprout instantly, yet the growth is happening beneath the soil long before it appears above ground. Your assumption works the same way. The moment you plant it, life begins adjusting itself to match. You may not witness the changes immediately, but the process is active. Circumstances will shift. People will change their minds, unexpected help will appear, events will align in ways you could never logically predict. This is why guarding your inner assumptions is so important. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. The true power lies in choosing what you accept is true about yourself and your future. When your inner assumption is in harmony with your desire, the outer world must eventually reflect it. It has no choice. Reality bends to the certainty you hold within. What you deeply accept as true in imagination begins to arrange itself in the seen world. Because imagination is not a place of fantasy, it is the workshop of creation. Every transformation, every breakthrough, every manifestation first takes form in the unseen. When you accept something as true in your inner world, you are shaping the blueprint that your outer world must eventually follow. The imagination is not passive. It is the creative engine of your reality. It is the realm where you plant the patterns that life later expresses in physical form. Most people assume that imagination is separate from reality, something that belongs to daydreams or idle thoughts. But the truth is far more powerful. Your imagination determines what you believe, and what you believe determines what you experience. When you imagine something with conviction and allow it to feel real, you shift your inner state. This acceptance must be deep, not a passing thought, not a hopeful wish, but a quiet inner knowing. It's the moment when you no longer question whether you will receive what you desire because you already possess it in feeling. The mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. When you hold the end result in your imagination long enough, your subconscious accepts it. And once accepted, it becomes a command to the universe. The outer world responds to this command through a chain of events that can seem miraculous. People show up at the right time, opportunities align, inspiration flows, circumstances shift. You are guided toward the very thing you imagined, and the thing you imagined is guided toward you. It is not coincidence, it is the natural unfolding of a reality you formed internally. This is why imagination must be used deliberately. If you imagine worst-case scenarios, you instruct life to fulfill them. If you dwell on fear, lack, or rejection, you embed those states into your subconscious. But when you imagine the fulfilled desire, peacefully, consistently, and with emotional acceptance, you give life a new shape to express. Imagination is the bridge between who you currently are and who you are becoming. When you step into the scene of your desired outcome and feel the joy, relief, or gratitude of it being done, you elevate your state of being. That elevated state influences how you speak, how you move, what you notice, and how you respond. Your actions become aligned without strain. Your energy becomes magnetic without effort, and slowly the world bends. Reality reshuffles itself around your new inner truth. That is why some people appear to be lucky. They have unconsciously accepted good outcomes in their imagination for so long that life naturally reflects them. What you accept within, you eventually encounter without. Your imagination is not just a tool, it is the birthplace of all future experience. When you choose to accept something as true inwardly, you give it permission to manifest outwardly. Everything begins there. Everything takes shape there. And the moment you claim a new reality in imagination, the seen world begins preparing a path for its arrival. Your desires are divine signals, proof that the outcome already exists within you, because a true desire does not come from lack, but from the deeper part of you that already knows what is possible. Desire is not an accident or a random longing. It is communication from the higher self, from the divine intelligence within, reminding you of what you are meant to experience. The very moment you feel a desire, the fulfillment of it is born in the unseen. You are not longing for something outside of you. You are remembering something that is already yours in potential. Desire is the evidence of the seed. Just as a seed contains the entire blueprint of the tree, your desire contains the blueprint of the manifestation. You would not even be able to conceive the desire if the fulfillment did not already exist on some level of your being. This is why the desire feels alive, why it continues to return, why it refuses to disappear. It is not trying to torture you with what you cannot have. It is trying to show you what is already aligned with your destiny. Many people treat desire as a sign of absence. They believe that wanting something means they are far from it. But the truth is the opposite. You feel desire because the reality of it is already prepared. You sense the next chapter before it arrives. Your inner being pulls you forward by giving you the feeling of longing, an inner echo of the life waiting for you. Desire is a preview of your future, not a reminder of what you lack. If you truly lacked the ability to achieve something, you would not even want it. A fish does not desire to climb mountains. A lion does not desire to swim oceans. They only desire what is natural to their nature. Similarly, the desires placed within you match your spiritual nature, your talents, your path, and your soul's evolution. You desire what is aligned with who you are becoming. This is why you must never feel guilty or ashamed for wanting more. The desire itself is divine. It is God's way of expanding you, guiding you, and directing your growth. When you suppress desire, you suppress the very guidance that was meant to elevate your life. When you accept desire, you step into harmony with your higher purpose. Every desire carries within it the power, the pathway, and the provision for its fulfillment. You are never given a desire without also being given the ability to realize it. The outer conditions do not matter. What matters is the inner recognition that the desire is not a request, it is an announcement. It is your higher self revealing what is already true in the invisible realm, waiting to be expressed in the visible world. So honor your desires. They are not fantasies, they are not selfish, they are not foolish. They are sacred messages. They are inner confirmations that the life you envision is not only possible, it already exists as a finished reality within you. And the moment you accept this truth, you stop chasing your desires and begin aligning with them. You stop forcing and start allowing. You stop doubting and start embodying. Your desires are divine signals. They are proof that the next version of your life is ready. All that is required from you is trust, acceptance, and the courage to believe that what you long for is simply the echo of what is already yours. God works through your inner state, not external conditions, because the true center of creation is not the world you see, but the world you hold within. External circumstances are only reflections, shadows cast by the deeper reality you sustain in your mind and heart. When your inner state changes, life must eventually rearrange itself to reflect that change. God does not work through the noise of appearances. He works through the quiet realm of consciousness, where your beliefs, emotions, and assumptions live. This is the place where transformation begins, long before any evidence shows itself. Most people try to fix life from the outside. They try to change situations, control people, or manipulate circumstances, believing that the external world is the cause of their experience. But the external world is only the effect. It is a mirror. It cannot bring you what you have not first accepted internally. God works by shifting your state of being, your sense of identity, your inner certainty, your dominant feeling. Once that inner state is established, the outer world is compelled to reflect it. This is why two people can face the same situation yet experience completely different outcomes. One sees failure, the other sees possibility. One feels defeated, the other feels guided. The situation is identical, but the states are different. And because the states are different, the results are different. God is not limited by the circumstance. He is limited only by the state you choose to occupy. Your inner state is the doorway through which the divine operates. When you hold a state of peace, things begin to align in ways you couldn't orchestrate. When you hold a state of abundance, opportunities appear that were previously invisible. When you hold a state of confidence, doors open because you walk differently, speak differently, and carry a different energy. The outer adjustments seem miraculous, but they are simply the natural response to an inner shift. Even when life looks impossible externally, God is not hindered. He moves through the realm that is untouched by limitation, your inner world. There he plants new convictions, new desires, new visions. There he reshapes your expectations, and as your expectations change, your life changes. External conditions may look stubborn at first, but they cannot resist the power of a fully claimed inner state. This is why prayer, imagination, and belief are so effective. They are tools that alter your inner condition. They elevate your state to match the outcome you seek. Once the inner state is aligned, the outer world must bend. It may take time for the physical rearrangement to unfold, but the moment your inner state shifts, the outcome is already guaranteed. God does not need perfect timing, perfect circumstances, or perfect people to bless you. He needs only your willingness to occupy the state that matches the blessing. The inner state is the signal, the outer world is the echo. When the signal changes, the echo must follow. Everything you desire begins with a shift within. Change the inner state, and the external conditions, no matter how fixed they seem, will eventually transform. God works from the inside out, and once the inside is aligned, the outside cannot remain the same. When you persist in the end, life reorganizes itself to fulfill your inner conviction, because persistence is the act of choosing your reality from within, regardless of what the outer world temporarily shows you. Persistence is not force, it is not struggle, it is the steady decision to remain loyal to the vision you have accepted as true. The inner end you hold, whether it is abundance, healing, love, success, or peace, becomes the blueprint that reality must eventually align with. When you persist, you are declaring that your inner truth is more real to you than current circumstances, and life has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. The outer world is fluid, constantly shifting in response to the states you occupy. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you stabilize your inner world. You hold a specific frequency, a specific assumption, a specific identity. This stability sends a clear signal to the universe, and everything around you begins to move in ways that match that signal. Things you once called obstacles begin turning into pathways. People who seemed indifferent suddenly become helpful. Events that once appeared random begin aligning with precision. Persistence is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Many people plant the seed of a desire but uproot it too quickly because they are discouraged by temporary appearances. They look outside, see no immediate evidence, and assume nothing is happening. But persistence understands that everything is happening, even when nothing appears to be happening. The moment you claim the end within, the universe begins its work behind the scenes. Your job is not to monitor the outer world. Your job is to maintain the inner conviction. And when you persist, you dissolve doubt, you silence the old stories that try to pull you back into limitation. You stop negotiating with fear and begin aligning with faith. Persistence makes you unshakable because you are no longer waiting for the world to confirm your desire. You have already accepted it as done within yourself. This inner acceptance is what forces the outer world to reorganize. Life bends to the one who refuses to give up their inner truth, not because they are stubborn, but because they are aligned. Persistence activates spiritual laws that bring forth the exact experiences your inner state demands. It draws resources, ideas, and opportunities into your path. It dissolves barriers that once looked solid. It reveals solutions you couldn't see before. Even the things that appear to go wrong become part of the rearrangement, redirecting you toward the fulfillment of your imagined end. Persistence does not make the journey harder. It makes it inevitable. It signals that you are done wavering between possibilities and have chosen your outcome. And once the choice is made, everything moves to support it. The universe cannot resist the power of a sustained inner conviction. It must reflect what you consistently assume as true. So persist. not with tension, but with quiet confidence. Stay loyal to the end you have chosen. Feel it, inhabit it, live from it. Let it become your inner home. When you persist in the end, life is compelled to adjust itself in your favor. The pieces will come together. The timing will align. The impossibilities will dissolve. Your inner conviction will carve the path, and the outer world will follow. In the end, everything you seek begins and ends within you. Your assumptions shape your path. Your imagination plants the seeds of your future. Your desires signal what is already yours. And your inner state becomes the channel through which God moves. When you stand firm, in the end, life has no choice but to reorganize itself around your conviction. What once looked impossible begins to unfold naturally. What felt distant begins to move closer. And what you claimed within becomes what you live without. Trust the process, honor the inner guidance, and remain loyal to the vision that has been placed in your heart. Everything is working for your good, and everything is turning in your favor. Thank you. There comes a moment in your life when you must understand a truth so profound, so transformative, that it alters the very lens through which you see your world. Everything you asked for is already making its way to you. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. In this very moment, your desires are aligning, arranging, and gathering themselves into form. You may ask, how do I know this? Because the very fact that you desire a thing is the proof that it already exists in you. Desire is not a signal of lack. Desire is a divine announcement. It is life saying, here is what is ready to be expressed through you. Your imagination is the first stage of creation. The inner vision you hold is the unseen blueprint of your future. When you close your eyes and see the scene of your wish fulfilled, you are not fantasizing, you are creating. You are participating in the rearrangement of your world. And let me tell you something powerful. Your world is obedient to your inner state. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. When you embody the state of the fulfilled dream, the world cannot resist it. It must reflect it. Every desire you carry is already complete in the unseen. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the version of yourself who already has it. And once you step into that identity, life must reorganize itself to match it. People move, opportunities appear, doors open, circumstances shift, not by chance, but by law. The law is simple. As within, so without. Your inner world is the cause, your outer world is the effect. So today, I want you to understand that nothing is working against you. Even what appears as delay, even what appears as confusion, even what appears as silence, all of it is part of the reorganization of life in your favor. You may not see it yet, but behind the scenes, all pieces are moving. That phone call you need is aligning. That money you asked for is finding its path. That opportunity you prayed for is making its way to your doorstep. That relationship you longed for is preparing to intersect with your timeline. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor. But here is the key. You must hold the state. You must persist in the assumption. You must walk as if it is already yours. Because the world responds not to your words, but to your conviction. When doubt whispers, return to your inner vision. When fear rises, Return to the feeling of fulfillment. When the world shows you something opposite, ignore it, because you are not living from the world. You are living from the end. Live in the certainty that it is done. Live in the gratitude of its completion. Live in the quiet confidence that you are the operant power of your reality. And then watch how effortlessly life bends. Watch how creation flows. Watch how your world transforms without strain or force. Everything you asked for is coming. Everything you asked for is unfolding. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor because you dared to assume it, feel it, and claim it. So walk today with your head high, with your heart steady, and with your spirit anchored in the truth. Your desires are not in the future, they are now. Imagination is not a daydream, not a passing picture, not a mental escape. It is the first and most reliable evidence that your desire is already coming into form. The moment you imagine something clearly and feel it deeply, you are witnessing the earliest stage of its manifestation. What you see within is not separate from your outer world. It is the seed that grows into it. Every creation begins in the unseen, and imagination is the blueprint, the foundation, the quiet announcement that something new has already begun. When you imagine your desire as fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are perceiving reality from a higher dimension. Your inner vision is the first stage of creation, the spiritual prototype that precedes its physical expression. Think of imagination as the womb of your future. Before anything becomes visible, it must first be conceived. And that conception happens the moment you dare to imagine your wish as already accomplished. The mistake most people make is believing that imagination is just in the mind, something less important, less real than the physical world. But the truth is the opposite. The outer world is nothing more than the delayed reflection of the inner world. The physical realm is slow, dense, and reactive. It responds to what you consistently hold within. Every event, every opportunity, every shift in your life begins its journey in your imagination. When you close your eyes and see the scene of your wish fulfilled, you are entering the reality where your desire already exists. You are aligning yourself with the version of you who has it. And once you align with that version, the outer world must reshape itself to match the inner state you've occupied. Imagination is not fantasy, it is causation. It sets the direction of your life. It initiates the movement of unseen forces that guide circumstances, people, and opportunities into place. Imagination gives you the first taste of the life you are creating. It reveals the direction of your becoming. Even before anything happens physically, you already know what is coming because you've witnessed it in your inner space. And if the image feels powerful, if it feels real, if it awakens a sense of completion within you, then you can rest assured. Manifestation has already begun. The inner picture is not a possibility, it is a preview. It is the early confirmation that creation is in motion. You do not need to see evidence in the physical world to trust your desire. You only need to trust the inner experience that showed itself to you first. That feeling of clarity, that satisfaction of imagining the end, that subtle knowing, that is the earliest proof that it is already yours. Imagination is the first evidence because creation always begins from the inside out. When you consistently return to the vision, when you dwell in it, When you make it more real than the circumstances around you, you accelerate the process. You fertilize the seed. You strengthen the blueprint. You magnetize the outcome. Assuming the feeling of fulfillment is the most powerful act you can perform in the process of manifestation. It is not the words you speak, not the affirmations you repeat, not even the vision you hold. It is the feeling of the wish fulfilled that seals your creation. The moment you can emotionally and internally experience your desire as already done, creation is complete. Nothing else needs to be added. Nothing else needs to be pushed, forced, or chased. The inner completion guarantees the outer expression. Feeling is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. When you adopt the emotional state of already having what you desire, you shift your identity. You step into the version of yourself who lives the reality you want. Every manifestation begins with a state of being, and your state is determined by the feelings you choose to dwell in. Once you assume the feeling of fulfillment, you are no longer hoping for your desire, you are living from it. This inner shift is everything. Most people live in the state of wanting, waiting, or worrying, and because their emotional state reflects lack, their world reflects the same. Wanting only produces more wanting. But when you feel satisfied, grateful, confident, and complete, even though nothing has physically happened yet, you have altered the root cause of creation, you have changed your inner world, and therefore the outer must follow. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not about pretending or imagining randomly. It is an inward acceptance that the desire is yours now. It is the deep breath of someone who is no longer striving. It is the calm certainty that comes when you no longer question whether it will happen because in your inner world it already has. You inhabit the end, you rest in the completed state. And once you rest in that state long enough, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to match what you feel within. The moment you feel it real, the old version of you dissolves. You stop identifying as the person who is lacking and begin living as the person who is fulfilled. This internal identity shift is what moves the outer world. Your subconscious mind takes your assumed feeling as fact. It does not question whether the feeling comes from physical reality or mental reality. It simply accepts the feeling as your truth and begins to produce experiences that match it. This is why the moment you enter the feeling of completion, creation is done. You no longer need external validation or proof. You no longer need to check the progress or wonder how it will happen. The seed has been planted, the blueprint finalized, the outcome secured. Your only job is to dwell in that emotional knowing, returning to it whenever doubt or appearances try to pull you out. With repetition, the feeling becomes natural, and once it becomes natural, manifestation happens effortlessly. Life conspires to reflect your assumed state. People show up, events unfold, opportunities appear, not because you chase them, but because your emotional reality made them inevitable. If you can't decide, a system like this will inevitably. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the creative power that shapes worlds. You declare through your state that the desire is already yours. And once you do that sincerely and consistently, the physical world has no choice but to reveal what you have already accepted internally. Creation is finished the moment you feel it real. Everything after that is simply the world catching up. Your state of being is the silent architect behind every experience you attract, every opportunity you meet, and every challenge you face. It is not your effort, your struggle, or even your intentions that shape your world. It is the state you consistently occupy within yourself. Your inner state is the cause. Your outer world is the effect. When you change the cause, the effect must transform. Life is not reacting to your words. It is responding to your vibration, your assumptions, your mood, your expectations, and the internal identity you hold from moment to moment. Most people try to change their lives by rearranging external conditions. They try to fix problems, chase opportunities, or push their way into new circumstances. But all of these efforts are temporary because they address only the surface. The true shift happens when you alter your internal state, the emotional and mental atmosphere you live in. Your state of being determines the lens through which you perceive life. And because perception creates interpretation and interpretation creates experience, your state is the foundation of everything you encounter. If you live in a state of fear, the world appears threatening. If you live in a state of lack, everything feels scarce. If you live in a state of doubt, opportunities seem distant. But if you live in a state of certainty, everything aligns in your favor. If you live in a state of gratitude, life becomes abundant. If you live in a state of fulfillment, your desires flow to you effortlessly. Your state is not something that happens to you, it is something you choose, consciously or unconsciously. And once chosen, it becomes your point of attraction. The world mirrors what you radiate from within. This is why people with similar circumstances can have completely different outcomes. One person living in a state of defeat sees obstacles everywhere. Another, living in a state of confidence, sees openings, solutions, and pathways forward. Changing your state is not about forcing positive thinking. It is about aligning with the version of you who already has what you want. When you shift your internal identity from someone who is struggling to someone who is evolving, from someone who lacks to someone who receives, from someone who doubts to someone who knows, your outer world must rearranges itself around your state the way iron filings rearrange themselves around a magnet. You do not force the movement. Your state causes it naturally. This is the reason state work is more powerful than effort, action, or strategy. When your state aligns with your desire, action becomes inspired, opportunities feel guided, and outcomes arrive in ways you could never have orchestrated. You no longer move through life trying to manipulate conditions. You move through life transforming yourself, knowing the world will follow. The most freeing truth you can embrace is this: your world cannot resist your inner state. It must conform to it. This means that the moment you shift your inner being, the outer must begin shifting as well. It may not happen instantly, but the momentum begins immediately. Everything starts moving toward the reality that matches who you are being. What you desire is not something you must chase, struggle for, or beg the universe to deliver. It already exists in the unseen, complete and whole, waiting for your alignment. Desire is not a signal that something is missing. Desire is the evidence that the version of you who already has what you want is calling you forward. You are not creating something out of nothing. You are tuning yourself to the frequency where that reality is already true. Everything you could ever ask for exists in the realm of possibility. The moment you imagine it, the moment you feel its truth, the moment you sense its presence in your inner world, you are touching the reality that is already formed. You do not manifest by forcing. You manifest by becoming the person who naturally receives it. The desire itself is a bridge between the version of you who craves it and the version of you who already lives it. When you stop chasing and start aligning, everything changes. Chasing is rooted in lack, in the belief that you don't have it yet, that it's far away, that you must work harder or prove your worth. Alignment, however, is rooted in knowing. It is rooted in the awareness that your desire is part of your story, part of your path, part of your identity. You align with your desire by thinking, feeling, and behaving like the version of you who already has it. The outer world then adjusts to match your inner conviction. The universe does not withhold anything from you. It simply reflects the state you occupy. When you live in the state of wanting, you continue to experience lack. But when you live in the state of having, even before it appears, the world must deliver the form that corresponds to your inner reality. You are not waiting for it to exist, you are waiting for yourself to match its frequency. Everything you desire exists as a possibility that becomes visible the moment you align with it internally. Just like a radio signal is invisible until you tune the dial, your desires remain unseen until your beliefs, emotions, and assumptions tune to their channel. You are not searching for something outside of you, you are awakening something within you. This is why the most important work you can do is not external, but internal. The moment you shift your assumptions, the moment you believe it is yours, the moment you feel the truth of its presence, the moment you accept its inevitability, you open the door. Opportunities appear, people arrive, resources flow, and circumstances rearrange themselves. Not because you chase them, but because you align with a reality where they were already waiting. Nothing you desire is out of reach. If you can imagine it, it exists. If you can feel it, it is forming. If you can align with it, it is yours. There is no gap between you and your desire except the gap created by your state. Once you close that gap by embodying the version of yourself who has already received it, the physical world must catch up. You are not chasing your dream is calling you. You are not searching for your manifestation is seeking alignment with you. Everything you desire already exists, and the moment you align with it, it reveals itself effortlessly. Persistence is the quiet force that turns an inner vision into an outer reality. It is the discipline of holding on to your imagined end, even when the world seems to contradict it. Manifestation is not a single moment of visualization or a brief burst of belief. It is the continual returning to the state of the wish fulfilled until it becomes your natural way of being. Persistence is what separates fleeting desires from inevitable outcomes. It is the bridge between imagination and materialization. When you first imagine your desire fulfilled, you plant a seed. But just like any seed, it takes time to grow. During that period, nothing may seem to be happening on the surface. Circumstances may look unchanged, people may behave the same, your outer world may even appear to contradict your inner knowing. This is the critical stage, the stage where persistence is required. Most people give up here, believing the silence means nothing is moving. But everything is moving. The roots are forming, the unseen is shifting, and the invisible forces are aligning your path. Persistence ensures you stay aligned long enough for the unseen to become seen. Persistence is not struggle. It is not forcing. It is not trying to make something happen. It is simply remaining loyal to your inner vision, regardless of external appearances. It is choosing the imagined truth over the temporary facts. It is keeping your inner state steady and unwavering, even when the outer world tries to provoke doubt. To persist is to refuse to be persuaded by what is currently visible, because you know the visible is always the last stage of creation. Your emotions, thoughts, and assumptions have momentum. The longer you stay in the state of your accomplished desire, the stronger that momentum becomes. Each time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you reinforce the blueprint of your new reality. You feed it, strengthen it, energize it, and eventually it becomes the dominant state, the version of yourself that feels natural. Once the new state becomes natural, manifestation must follow. Persistence is what turns a temporary assumption into a permanent identity. The world will always test your commitment to your desire, not because you are unworthy, but because old states of consciousness linger and try to pull you back into familiar patterns. If you fall for these appearances, you recreate the old reality. But if you stand firm in your new assumption, the old must dissolve. Persistence dissolves resistance. Persistence overrides doubt. Persistence breaks the cycle of old patterns and anchors you into a new timeline. The key is consistency, not perfection. You are not required to feel unwavering belief every second of the day. You simply need to return again and again to your vision. Each return is an act of power. Each return is a declaration of faith. Each return moves you deeper into alignment. Persistence transforms into certainty. You stop wondering if it will happen and begin knowing when it happens it will feel natural. Your desire becomes inevitable because you have remained faithful to it in the unseen. And once you persist long enough, the outer world must conform. It has no choice. Your persistence has become the law that shapes your reality. Life is always responding to the assumptions you hold within yourself, whether you do so consciously or unconsciously. Your assumptions act like silent commands, directing the flow of circumstances, shaping the behavior of people around you, and influencing the events that unfold in your daily life. You are not at the mercy of chance or luck. You are directing your reality through the beliefs you consistently embody. When you assume something with conviction, the entire world begins rearranging itself to make that assumption true. Assumptions are more powerful than wishes, hopes, or surface level thoughts. An assumption is something you accept as true even before you see proof. It is the inner declaration that this is already mine, this is who I am, or this is how my life unfolds. Once you accept an assumption, your subconscious mind begins to operate from it as if it were fact. From that moment on, life starts moving in alignment with that inner truth. The outer world cannot remain unchanged when the inner world has shifted, and remain unchanged when the inner world has shifted. Circumstances that once seemed fixed begin to soften and bend. Situations that appeared stuck suddenly open. Opportunities you never expected begin to appear. People you've never met start entering your path. Others who were previously indifferent or closed off become receptive and supportive. All of this happens not because you forced anything, but because your inner conviction created a new energetic pattern for life to follow. This rearrangement is not always visible at first. Much happens behind the scenes, beyond your awareness. Events align in ways your conscious mind could never orchestrate. The right person gets an idea, makes a decision, or has a change of heart at exactly the right time. A door that seemed permanently shut swings open effortlessly. A situation that once felt like a barrier suddenly dissolves. These shifts are not random, they are responses to your assumption. Your assumption is like a magnet. Once you hold it firmly and consistently, everything that matches it is drawn into your experience, and everything that contradicts it begins to lose power. If you assume that you are successful, life will find ways to confirm that assumption. If you assume that you are loved and valued, people will start treating you accordingly. If you assume that things always work out for you, you will see events reorganize themselves to ensure that outcome. Most people make the mistake of waiting for circumstances to change before changing their assumptions. But the law works in reverse. Circumstances change because assumptions change. If you continue to react to your current environment, you remain trapped in the same pattern. But the moment you adopt a new assumption, even if your world stays the same for a while, you set a new direction for your life. The outer must adjust to the new inner order. Life is not resisting you. It is shaped by you. It listens to the tone of your inner dialogue and mirrors it back to you in the form of events and experiences. When your assumptions are strong, consistent, and rooted in your desired outcome, the world has no choice but to bend to them. In the end, everything we desire, everything we hope for, and everything we dream about begins within us. The imagination you trust, the feeling you assume, the state you inhabit, the belief that your desire already exists. These are not small acts. They are the forces that shape your reality. When you persist in your inner vision and remain faithful to the end, you have already claimed life has no choice but to respond. Circumstances shift, pathways open, and the world reorganizes itself around your conviction. Hence, you are not waiting for your future, you are creating it from the inside out. And the moment you decide to live as the fulfilled version of yourself, everything you asked for starts moving toward you, not by chance, but by law, not by luck, but by alignment. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor because you dared to imagine it, feel it, believe it, and persist in it. Something in the unseen has already begun. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it in every area of your life, but heaven has moved. The shift has started, and nothing can stop what's coming. For too long, you've prayed, you've waited, and you've wondered when the breakthrough would appear. But the truth is, the answer was never no. It was wait. I'm aligning everything for your good. The divine plan was never delayed. It was maturing. Like the seed beneath the soil, your promise was germinating, hidden from sight, yet alive with purpose. Now, that purpose has reached its appointed hour. The vibration of change has already been released in the unseen realm. The doors that once resisted you are trembling. The patterns that held you in limitation are dissolving. God has spoken, and when the word is spoken, creation must obey. Do not judge by appearances. What looks like silence is divine rearrangement. What feels like loss is the universe clearing the path. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned. The old timeline has ended and a new one has begun. The people, opportunities, and miracles aligned with your destiny are already in motion toward you. The shift begins not in the outer world, but within the realm of your consciousness. As you change your inner conversation, the world must reflect that change. The moment you accept that it has already happened, You step into alignment with divine law. You are no longer waiting for the miracle, you are embodying it. Faith is not begging God to move. Faith is knowing that He already has. It is the quiet confidence that says, though I do not see it yet, it is already mine. The unseen hand of the divine is moving every piece, turning every delay into design, every setback into setup. You don't need to strive, push, or force. You only need to believe. For what's coming cannot be stopped, not by fear, not by doubt, not by circumstance. It is written. The promise was sealed before you even prayed. So, lift your head. Stand in the knowing that the shift has started. Everything that once seemed impossible is aligning in your favor. Every wrong is being made right. Every closed door is giving way to divine timing. This is your moment of awakening, not to something new, but to what has always been yours. God's word concerning your life is in motion, and it will not return void. The shift is irreversible. The outcome is inevitable. The promise is unbreakable. So rest in that knowing, because what's coming isn't random, it's divine. And nothing can stop what's already been ordained. Every true shift begins not in the world around you, but in the invisible realm within you. Before anything manifests in your outer life, it first takes root in the consciousness of your belief. The external world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting the state of your inner world. What you hold as true in the silence of your imagination eventually appears before you in visible form. Every divine change, every breakthrough, every answered prayer begins as a quiet conviction, an unseen certainty that what you desire is already real. You are not waiting for circumstances to align. Circumstances are waiting for you to align. The divine power that creates worlds does not move because of fear, doubt, or desperation. It moves through faith, through inner acceptance. The moment you dare to believe that what you seek is already accomplished, a shift occurs in the unseen. Something in the spiritual dimension begins to move. The vibration of your belief sends a signal into the divine field, and creation responds. The great secret is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are conscious of being. If your inner dialogue is filled with limitation, the world will echo it back to you through limitation. But if your inner conversation declares abundance, healing, love, and purpose, those same qualities must find their way into your outer experience. It cannot be otherwise. The outer world is obedient to the inner vision. When you begin to understand this, you stop chasing results and start cultivating states of consciousness. You begin to see that prayer is not about convincing God to act. It's about shifting your awareness until you feel the reality of the answered prayer. The divine law operates with precision, as within, so without. When you change the inner image, the outer scene rearranges itself to match it. The moment you decide, in full conviction, that you already are what you wish to be, the unseen forces of the universe begin their perfect orchestration. But this inner shift requires stillness. It requires trust. You cannot see the seed growing beneath the soil, yet you trust that life is unfolding within it. In the same way, when you shift within, you may not see immediate proof. The world may appear unchanged, but something deep in the unseen has been set in motion. The divine timing is precise. When your faith matures, the harvest will appear effortlessly. To live in this understanding is to live in mastery. You stop reacting to appearances and begin creating from awareness. You no longer measure progress by what you see, but by what you know within. This is the essence of divine creation. Knowing that the unseen is more real than the visible, and that belief is the birthplace of every miracle. So guard your inner world, nurture it with faith, gratitude, and imagination. See yourself already possessing the promise. Speak as if it has already happened. Feel the joy of its fulfillment. When your inner world aligns with your divine identity, the outer world has no choice but to follow. For every divine shift begins not in heaven above, but in the consciousness within you. And once that shift occurs, nothing can stop it from becoming your reality. Imagination is the birthplace of every miracle. It is the seed of all creation, the sacred space where the unseen becomes seen, where thought takes form, and where divine intention begins its journey into the physical world. Everything you have ever experienced, every structure, invention, or breakthrough, began first as an image in someone's imagination. In the same way, everything that will unfold in your life begins in that hidden garden of the mind. When you dare to imagine something as true, you plant a seed in the soil of consciousness. That seed may be invisible to others, but it is alive, charged with divine energy. The moment you imagine with conviction, heaven begins to move. The spiritual law is exact. What is vividly imagined with faith and feeling must express itself in form. The imagination is not mere fantasy. It is the creative faculty of God operating through you. When you imagine, you are not daydreaming. You are creating on the invisible plane. The challenge for most is that they imagine the wrong things. They use this divine power to rehearse fear, doubt, and limitation. They imagine what could go wrong instead of what could go right, and the universe, being obedient, reflects it back. Yet, when you consciously turn your imagination toward faith, when you dare to picture your desired outcome as already done, you align with divine power. The invisible world rearranges itself to mirror your inner vision. Imagination is the first act of faith. To imagine yourself healed, prosperous, free, or fulfilled while circumstances still look unchanged is to honor the truth that the unseen is more powerful than the visible. This is the secret of all transformation. The world around you bends to the image you consistently hold within you. When that image becomes more real to you than your present conditions, reality must eventually conform to it. It is through imagination that God works miracles. When you see yourself as already possessing what you desire, you are agreeing with divine law. The creative energy of the universe flows through that agreement, drawing to you every person, event, and opportunity required for manifestation. You don't have to force it, manipulate it, or beg for it. Your role is to see it in imagination and to feel its truth so completely that it becomes natural to you. When it feels real within, it must appear without. Understand this deeply. Imagination is not passive. It is an act of divine creation. Each time you close your eyes and envision the life you long for, you are rewriting the script of your destiny. You are declaring to the universe, "This is who I am." And God, who honors faith, responds by shaping reality to your belief. So dare to imagine boldly. See yourself walking in victory. See your prayers answered, your dreams fulfilled, your heart at peace. Live in that inner vision until it becomes your natural state. For what you dare to imagine as true, God will move heaven and earth to make real. Imagination is not escape, it is creation. It is the sacred bridge between what is and what can be, and through it all things are made possible. ChatGPT said, "When the divine plan is set in motion, nothing and no one can stand in its way." The moment God ordains a thing for your life, it is sealed in eternity. It may take time for your eyes to see it, but in the unseen realm, it is already accomplished. The path is written, the outcome secured, and the timing perfectly arranged. No human opposition, no delay, no detour can interfere with what heaven has decreed. Divine order cannot be broken. Every seeming obstacle is not a contradiction to the plan, but a part of its unfolding. What looks like a setback is often divine choreography, the universe rearranging circumstances to bring about the perfect fulfillment of what is destined for you. When you understand this, you stop resisting the process. You stop questioning every delay and start trusting the divine rhythm behind it. Life is not happening to you. It is happening for you, in alignment with the perfect will of God. The divine plan is like a river, steady, purposeful, and unstoppable. You may build dams of doubt or fear, but even those cannot block the current forever. The water finds its way around every obstacle, cutting new paths through rock and soil, until it reaches its destination. So it is with your destiny. No matter who resists you, misunderstands you, or tries to hinder you, the divine current will always carry you where you are meant to be. There are times when you may feel forgotten, as though the promise has faded or the vision has died. But what is divine cannot die. It can only mature. The delay you perceive is divine timing, perfecting the details. The closed door is protection, not punishment. The silence is preparation, not rejection. When the time is right, the shift happens suddenly, effortlessly, and undeniably. Everything that once resisted you begins to cooperate with you because divine order has taken command. Everything that once resisted you begins to cooperate with you because divine order has taken command. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are guided by an intelligence far greater than circumstance. This higher power sees beyond your momentary confusion and weaves every event, both the joyful and the painful, into the grand tapestry of your purpose. What others mean for harm, God turns into good. What you thought was loss becomes gain. Every delay conceals divine precision. So rest in this truth. What is appointed for you cannot be lost. The promises over your life are indestructible. Even if you take a wrong turn, divine order redirects your steps. Even if others try to block your way, they only serve to push you closer to destiny. The hand of God cannot be stopped by human hands. Therefore, be still in your spirit. Trust the timing. Trust the unseen wisdom guiding your path. What's meant for you is already yours in the realm of spirit. And the moment it's due, it will manifest effortlessly. Nothing can interfere, nothing can delay, and nothing can deny what heaven has decreed. The divine order is in motion, and it will not fail. ChatGPT said, "Faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the quiet, unwavering confidence that what you have asked for already exists, even when there is no visible sign of it." Faith is not dependent on evidence. It creates evidence. It does not wait for proof. It gives proof its reason to appear. When you believe before you see, you step out of the limitations of time and into alignment with divine order. You move from the world of waiting into the world of knowing. And it is in that sacred space that miracles begin to unfold. True faith is not blind, it is visionary. It sees beyond what the eyes can perceive and anchors itself in the eternal truth that the unseen is more real than the visible. Every miracle, every breakthrough, every answered prayer begins with someone daring to believe before any sign appeared. To live by faith is to live from the end, to feel the reality of the promise fulfilled, even when circumstances still contradict it. This is how divine timing works. When your inner conviction matures, the outer world rushes to meet it. The mind often seeks evidence before it believes, but faith reverses the order. It says, I believe, therefore I will see. It trusts that the invisible hand of God is at work, even in the silence, even in the stillness. When you hold faith in the unseen, you are saying to creation, I know it is already done. That knowing becomes a magnetic force, drawing into form every condition, opportunity, and event necessary to reveal the fulfillment of your belief. Faith transcends logic because it comes from a higher knowing. It is not based on what the senses report, but on what the spirit knows. To the natural mind, faith seems irrational, to give thanks for something not yet visible, to celebrate before the victory. Yet this is the divine paradox. When you believe as though it were already done, the universe mirrors your conviction. The world outside must eventually conform to the truth you hold inside. Every test of life is a test of faith. When nothing seems to move, when the answer appears delayed, that is when faith is being refined. It is in those silent seasons that you are being invited to trust without evidence, to rest in the unseen wisdom of God's timing. Faith says, even if I don't see it yet, I know it's on the way. That quiet assurance releases resistance, allowing the miracle to flow unhindered. Faith is not just belief in God, it is belief in the God within you, the creative power that speaks worlds into being. When you align with that power, through unwavering belief, you participate in divine creation itself. You stop begging and start believing, you stop doubting and start declaring, and when that alignment is complete, manifestation becomes inevitable. So, believe before you see. Stand firm when evidence is absent. The unseen is already forming your miracle. Every second you remain in faith, divine timing unfolds perfectly, and what once seemed impossible becomes reality. Faith transcends evidence, because it is evidence, the inner knowing that what God promised, He has already performed. There comes a moment in every divine journey when the old must fall away to make room for the new. It can feel uncomfortable, confusing, even painful, as though everything familiar is crumbling. But what you are witnessing is not destruction, it is divine construction. The old order, the patterns, relationships, and circumstances that once served a purpose are now being dismantled to create space for what God has already prepared. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected ending is part of this sacred transition. Nothing is being lost. It is only being replaced by something greater. When God begins to elevate you, He first clears the foundation. The shaking you feel is not punishment but preparation. The divine architect is removing what no longer aligns with your next level. Sometimes that means people drift away, opportunities dissolve, or plans unravel. To the natural mind, it looks like loss, but to the spiritual eye, it is order being restored. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted up. You cannot enter a new season carrying the weight of the old. The old mindsets, fears, and attachments cannot survive in the vibration of your new reality. That is why life sometimes closes doors you would have kept open, why circumstances shift without your consent. It is divine mercy disguised as disruption. God knows that what once sustained you cannot sustain you now. The old version of you must give way to the one who is ready to receive the promise. When the old begins to crumble, your role is not to resist, but to trust. Let go with gratitude. Honor what has been, but do not cling to it. The more you fight the change, the more painful it feels. But when you surrender, when you recognize that divine order is at work, peace returns. The chaos is only temporary. It is the soil being broken for new growth. What looks like endings are actually beginnings, wearing different clothes. Understand this truth deeply. God never subtracts without intending to multiply. When something is removed, it is because something greater is on the way. The disruption is the divine signal that your next chapter has already been written. The unseen has already shifted. The visible world is merely catching up. So when doors close, say thank you. When paths end, bless them. When the old falls apart, stand still and trust that something higher is unfolding. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt into alignment with destiny. The old must crumble because it cannot contain the new you. What once fit your spirit now feels too small. The shift you're experiencing is evidence that your frequency has risen. You are evolving into the person capable of carrying the promise. So do not fear the falling away. It is divine order in motion, the ending of what was never meant to last, and the birthing of what has always been prepared. The old is not your loss, it is your liberation. What God is building cannot be shaken, and soon you will see that everything that left was only making room for what was meant to come. You are not waiting for change to come. You are the vessel through which change flows. The divine power within you is not passive, it is creative, alive, and ever moving. It does not wait for conditions to improve before it acts. It transforms conditions through its presence. You carry within you the same creative essence that spoke light into darkness. The shift you are sensing in your life is not happening around you, it is happening through you. You are the instrument of divine transformation, the living bridge between the unseen and the seen. Too often, we look outside ourselves, waiting for signs, opportunities, or breakthroughs to appear. We imagine that change will begin once the world aligns in our favor. But the truth is, alignment begins within. The outer world only mirrors the state of your inner world. When your consciousness rises, the environment around you reorganizes itself to reflect that new vibration. The divine power does not wait for circumstances to permit your growth. It causes circumstances to bend to your spiritual authority. You are not a victim of life's movements. You are a participant in its creation. Every thought you hold, every word you speak, every belief you nurture sends out a frequency that shapes reality. The power of God does not dwell in temples made by hands. It lives in you. When you choose faith over fear, vision over doubt, love over resentment, that power flows freely through you. You are the vessel through which heaven touches earth. The divine shift is not an external event, it is an awakening of your divine identity. As you remember who you are, the illusions of limitation begin to dissolve. You start to realize that the authority to create, to heal, to prosper, and to rise has always been within you. You were never meant to wait for change. You were meant to be the change. God works through willing vessels, hearts that are open, minds that are surrendered, spirits that are awake. When you walk in that awareness, life begins to obey you, not because you are forcing it, but because you are aligned with the creative flow of the universe. You stop reacting to problems and begin responding from power. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start declaring, it is happening through me. This shift in awareness moves mountains, opens doors, and dissolves barriers that once seemed immovable. The same spirit that raised life from the dust is alive in you now. It is not waiting for conditions to change. It is creating the change itself through your faith, your intention, and your vision. The more you believe this truth, the more the evidence appears. So rise into your divine role. Speak life where there is lack. Declare peace where there is chaos. See abundance where others see limitation. You are not powerless. You are the vessel of the shift. Through you, the divine is creating new realities, new opportunities, and new beginnings. The power is already within you, waiting only for your agreement to flow. Everything that has been spoken leads to one undeniable truth. The shift has begun. It started not outside of you, but within you. The unseen hand of God is already moving, aligning every detail, orchestrating every event, and preparing every blessing that belongs to you. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted, and nothing can stop what has already been divinely set in motion. The old is fading because it can no longer contain who you are becoming. The doors that once closed are now opening because your vibration has changed. The delays you once feared were never denials, they were divine pauses, ensuring you would be ready to receive what's meant for you. You have been stretched, refined, and awakened for such a time as this. Now, step forward in faith. No longer wait for signs. No longer doubt the process. The power of creation is alive within you, working through you, transforming your reality from the inside out. The same divine presence that created the heavens is breathing through your words, your imagination, your belief. You are not waiting for the shift. Trust that every piece is falling into place. What you have prayed for, dreamed of, and envisioned is already on its way. The new is rising, and all of heaven is aligning in your favor. Stay rooted in faith, anchored in gratitude, and confident in the knowing that divine order cannot fail. Your time is not coming, your time is now. Thank you for listening, and remember, what God has started in your life, no force on earth can stop. The shift is here, and it's working for your good. My friend, listen closely. The tide is turning. What seemed still, what looked uncertain, what felt delayed, is quietly being rearranged behind the curtain of your life. God is about to shift everything in your favor. So for so long you may have felt like life was holding you back, like the doors refused to open, like the answers were always one step away. But the truth is, the delay was never denial. The waiting was preparation. The silence was the sacred pause before the sound of victory. You see, the real transformation does not begin when the outer changes. It begins when you shift within. Every event, every turn, every face that appears in your story is an echo of what you have already accepted in consciousness. And now, as you begin to dwell in the feeling of favor, everything around you must align to that vibration. This is not wishful thinking, it is divine law. As you assume that everything is working together for your good, the universe bends itself to that belief. What was once closed must open. What was once lost must return. What was once dark must reveal the hidden light. Right now, in the unseen, there is a reordering taking place. Situations that looked impossible are quietly being rewritten. People who overlooked you are about to remember your name. Paths that vanished are being rebuilt beneath your feet. You are entering a divine rearrangement where what was once against you begins to serve your destiny. But here's the key. You must stay faithful to the unseen. Do not measure progress by sight. Do not let appearances deceive you. The shift always begins invisibly. Just as a seed breaks in the dark before it ever touches the sunlight, your miracle is forming beneath the surface right now. So, hold the feeling of favor. Walk as though everything has already turned. Speak as if the breakthrough has already occurred. Because the moment you embody it, the outer must mirror it. What you call waiting is really God's perfect timing unfolding. What you call obstacle is divine alignment in disguise. And what you call loss is simply the clearing away of what can no longer contain your blessing. Your faith has summoned this shift. Your persistence has unlocked this season. God has seen your endurance, and now He is turning everything in your favor. Not partially, not halfway, but completely, beautifully, undeniably. So stand tall, rest in certainty, rejoice before you see it, because it's already done in the unseen. Your time has come. Your favor is here. And God is about to shift everything, absolutely everything, in your favor. The unseen realm precedes the seen. Everything shifts first in consciousness. Before anything takes form in your external world, it must first exist as an invisible pattern within you. Every condition, every event, every circumstance that you experience in life is the result of an inner movement that occurred long before the evidence appeared. Nothing happens by accident. What you call reality is only the mirror reflecting what you have accepted as true within yourself. The world around you is not creating your state of being. Your state of being is creating the world around you. This is the hidden secret behind every transformation, the understanding that the cause is not out there, but in here. The unseen realm of thought, feeling, imagination, and belief is the birthplace of all that becomes visible. When you understand this, you stop struggling to fix the outer and begin to master the inner. You stop chasing change and start embodying it. You realize that life is not reacting to what you do, it is responding to what you are. Consciousness is the womb of creation. Everything that has ever existed, everything that will ever exist, begins as a vibration in awareness. Your imagination is not a fantasy, it is a creative force. When you hold a thought long enough, when you saturate it with emotion and conviction, it crystallizes into form. The outer world must then rearrange itself to reflect that inner conviction. This is why it is said that faith is the substance of things hoped for, because faith shapes substance. Faith is not hoping something might happen, it is knowing it already has in the unseen. Most people live in reverse. They look at their current circumstances, believe what they see, and then allow those appearances to dictate their inner state. If things go well, they feel confident. If things look bleak, they feel defeated. But the wise understand that appearances are nothing but the shadow of yesterday's consciousness. What you see today is the harvest of what you once believed. If you wish to change tomorrow, you must sow a new belief today. When you assume the feeling of your desired state, not in imagination alone, but in genuine inner conviction, the unseen begins to stir. Energy moves. People, opportunities, and events start to align themselves in ways your mind could never plan. The shift is invisible at first, but undeniable when it arrives. You begin to meet the right person at the right time. A closed door suddenly opens. A delay reveals itself as divine timing. The unseen realm organizes itself according to the picture you hold within. This is why inner work is the highest work. Meditation, prayer, visualization, they are not passive acts. They are the sacred tools that reshape the unseen mold of your life. Every time you lift your consciousness above fear, doubt, or limitation, you alter the pattern that life must express through you. You are not waiting for change. You are becoming it. When you understand that everything shifts first in consciousness, you stop asking, when will it happen, and start affirming it is already done. You no longer beg for blessings, you embody them. You no longer chase miracles, you live from the awareness that you are already surrounded by them. The unseen is not distant or delayed. It is right here, forming your next moment, waiting for your recognition. Once you accept this truth, you discover the real power of creation. To think, to feel, to believe, and to know that all things begin and end within you. Your inner assumption is the seed of your outer transformation. Everything you experience in life grows out of what you have accepted as true within yourself. Every result, every circumstance, every relationship is a reflection of your dominant assumption, the quiet conviction that lives beneath your words and actions. You may speak positively, you may hope for better things, but life responds not to your words or wishes, it responds to your assumption. What you assume about yourself, about others, and about life itself becomes the invisible foundation upon which your world is built. Assumption is not mere thinking, it is feeling. It is that deep inner knowing that settles quietly in your heart and declares, this is who I am. This is what my life is. When that feeling takes root, it grows automatically. For the outer world is only a field waiting for the seed of your assumption to be planted. You do not need to force it, strive for it, or chase it. Just as a seed naturally grows when placed in fertile soil, your assumptions naturally unfold when they are nourished by belief and emotion. If you want to transform your life, you must begin by transforming what you assume to be true. You cannot hold within yourself the belief that you are unworthy and expect life to treat you as valuable. You cannot assume lack and expect abundance. You cannot assume rejection and expect acceptance. The outer world will always match the vibration of your inner conviction. It mirrors you with perfect precision, not to punish you, but to reveal you, to show you where your consciousness is planted. Most people attempt to change their lives by working only in the outer field. They change jobs, relationships, or locations, believing that the shift in circumstance will bring peace. Yet sooner or later, the same patterns reappear, because the inner seed was never changed. The old assumptions of fear, limitation, or doubt continue to bear the same fruit. True transformation begins only when you dare to assume something new about yourself. To assume is to claim your desired state as already real. It is to walk in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to think and act from the end rather than toward it. When you assume, I am prosperous, even before evidence appears, you invite life to rearrange itself to match that vibration. When you assume, I am loved, you radiate an energy that draws love toward you. When you assume, I am guided, you begin to notice signs, opportunities, and synchronicities that confirm it. Life bends to the shape of your inner certainty. This is not imagination for its own sake. It is creation through consciousness. Your assumption does not wait for proof, it produces proof. It does not beg for change, it births it. The unseen power of your inner state directs every movement in the outer. When you truly grasp this, you stop trying to control people or conditions. You no longer fight circumstances or chase validation. Instead, you tend to your inner garden. You plant thoughts of abundance, worth, peace, and divine favor. You water them with gratitude and faith. And as surely as morning follows night, those inner assumptions bloom into visible experiences. Your world is not happening to you, it is growing from you. The seed of every transformation lies within your assumption. When you choose to assume the best, life has no choice but to mirror that belief. So, nurture the seed wisely. For whatever you assume yourself to be, you will inevitably become. What once worked against you is now being rearranged to serve you. Life has a mysterious intelligence that uses even your obstacles as instruments for your transformation. What you once saw as a setback was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you. Every delay, every disappointment carried a hidden purpose, to reposition you for something greater. Nothing in your story was wasted, and nothing was ever random. The very forces that seemed to oppose you were, in truth, shaping you for the season you are now entering. Some said, when you look back, you can trace moments that felt like endings but were actually beginnings in disguise. The rejection that broke your heart taught you to find strength within yourself. The failure that humbled you refined your character. The detour that confused you led you to a path you never would have discovered otherwise. The pain was never punishment. It was preparation. Life was rearranging itself, aligning circumstances and orchestrating divine timing, even when you couldn't see it. You see, nothing in your life moves without purpose. The universe is not chaotic, it is precise. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of a larger tapestry being woven by unseen hands. When you begin to trust this truth, you stop resenting the past and start recognizing its wisdom. You realize that what once worked against you is now being turned in your favor. That difficult person, that season of lack, that moment of failure, all of it was molding you into someone capable of receiving the blessings you once prayed for. The rearrangement often begins invisibly. It happens in the unseen before it manifests in the seen. You may not feel the shift at first, but the alignment is taking place. Relationships that once drained you fall away. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers begin to return. The same doors that were closed now open without effort. The difference is not luck, it is consciousness. You have changed within, and therefore everything connected to you must rearrange itself accordingly. The forces that opposed you were never against you. They were instruments of your evolution. When you embrace this perspective, resentment dissolves into gratitude. You no longer curse the storm. You thank it for revealing your strength. You no longer fear the unknown. You trust that it is leading you somewhere greater. What once looked like loss becomes a doorway to increase. What once looked like delay becomes divine timing. What once looked like chaos becomes perfect order. The key is to stop fighting what has already happened and begin to align with what is unfolding now. The past does not define you, it refines you. The struggle was never a signal of defeat, it was the turning point of destiny. You are being repositioned by grace. Every failure, every test was the soil from which your new season would grow. So, lift your head, release the bitterness, stop rehearsing what went wrong, and start expecting the rearrangement that is already in motion. The same circumstances that once seemed to block you are now being used to build you. The same path that once felt heavy will soon carry you into ease. The same people who overlooked you will watch the hand of favor raise you. Nothing has been wasted. What once worked against you is now by divine design working for you, turning every shadow into light, every burden into blessing, every setback into setup. The shift has begun. The divine is not delaying, it is aligning everything for your highest good. What you call waiting is not inactivity, it is sacred timing, unfolding in perfect harmony with your destiny. Life is not withholding your blessings, it is preparing the path, the people, and the conditions so that when the moment arrives, nothing will be missing and nothing will be out of place. What feels like delay is often divine protection. What feels like silence is often preparation. The universe is not slow, it is precise. Many lose faith in the waiting. They interpret the pause as rejection, the silence as abandonment, yet the divine never denies, it only refines. The time between your desire and its manifestation is not empty. It is full of invisible activity. Circumstances are being rearranged. Hearts are being softened. Doors are being built, not merely opened. You may not see it yet, but beneath the surface, every thread is being woven together in perfect order. Imagine a symphony being composed. Each instrument must enter at the right moment, each note must find its place. If one part rushes ahead, the harmony collapses. So too in your life, there is an order, a rhythm, a divine timing that ensures every blessing arrives when you are ready to hold it. The waiting is not punishment, it is orchestration. It is life aligning the right opportunities, preparing you inwardly to sustain what you've prayed for outward. Sometimes, if the blessing arrived too soon, you wouldn't recognize it. You might mishandle it, doubt it, or lose it because your consciousness was not yet expanded to receive it. The divine delay is really divine mercy, a space for you to grow into the version of yourself who can fully embody what you've asked for. You are not being withheld from, you are being matured for. During this time, your task is not to push but to trust, to surrender the need to control the timing and instead align with the energy of faith. Faith does not ask, when will it happen? Faith declares it's already happening. When you rest in this knowing, impatience turns into peace. You stop trying to force outcomes and begin to live in harmony with divine flow. You realize that the universe is never late, it is always exact. Look back at your life. Every time you thought something was delayed, didn't it eventually make sense? Didn't the thing you once cried over lead to something better, something more fitting for your soul's evolution? The same is true now. The delay you feel is the divine rearranging the universe in your favor. People are being moved, situations are being shifted. What seems still is not stagnant, it's being aligned. So instead of asking, why is it taking so long, begin to say, thank you for aligning everything perfectly. Gratitude opens the heart to divine timing. It releases resistance and allows the flow of grace to carry you forward. The divine does not operate on human schedules. It operates on divine order. Every delay is alignment. Every pause is purpose. Every detour is direction. Trust that what is yours is already moving toward you, and when the moment is right, not early, not late, it will arrive effortlessly, beautifully, undeniably. The divine is not delaying. It is aligning everything, absolutely everything, for your highest good. When you believe it's already done, life conspires to prove you right. The universe mirrors your certainty. The moment you shift from hoping to knowing, from wishing to assuming, you activate a force far greater than effort. You align with the creative law that governs all manifestation. Belief is not a passive state of mind. It is a living energy that instructs reality how to move. When you embody the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to make that inner conviction visible. Most people live in a constant state of waiting, waiting for signs, waiting for proof, waiting for permission to believe. Yet the secret is that belief itself is the cause, and the proof is always the effect. You are not meant to wait until something happens before you believe it. You are meant to believe it first so that it can happen. The world does not respond to your longing, it responds to your assumption. Life listens not to what you say, but to what you know to be true in the quiet depths of your being. When you decide within yourself that something is already done, you send a clear signal to the universe. That inner certainty calls forth people, opportunities, and circumstances that align with your state of belief. You begin to see coincidences, synchronicities, and doors opening in perfect timing, not because life suddenly favors you, but because you are finally vibrating in harmony with what you desire. The outer must follow the inner. It has no choice. Belief is the creative command of consciousness. It does not beg, it does not chase, it declares. The moment you inwardly claim it is done, you cease to struggle. You no longer ask, how will it happen, or when will it happen, because you already know it's unfolding in divine order. That knowing creates peace, and peace is the soil where miracles grow. When you truly believe, your energy becomes magnetic. You attract instead of pursue. You rest instead of resist. You live from fulfillment rather than from lack. This is why faith is described as the evidence of things not seen. It is the invisible certainty that gives birth to visible form. Every great manifestation begins with an inner conviction that defies logic. The seed of belief germinates in silence, nourished by feeling and unwavering trust, until one day it breaks through the surface of experience. People will call it coincidence or luck, but you will know it was the inevitable result of your inner knowing. To believe it's already done is to step out of time and into creation. You stop living from the perspective of someday and start living from now. You speak as though it's done. You act as though it's done. You feel gratitude before you see results, because on the level of consciousness, it is done. That feeling of completion is what draws completion into form. So stop waiting for permission to believe. Stop doubting the unseen. What you desire is already prepared for you in the invisible. The moment you believe it is yours, the universe conspires to prove you right. Everything begins to move in your favor. The right ideas, the right people, the right timing. Believe first, and let life echo your faith. For belief is not merely the key to manifestation, it is the very hand that turns the lock. Your faith is the force that moves the unseen hand of destiny. Faith is not mere hope, nor is it blind optimism. It is the quiet power that commands reality to respond. It is the invisible bridge between the world of thought and the world of form. When you possess faith, you do not beg life to change. You know it must. You do not question whether the path will open. You walk as if it already has. Faith is the law of creation wrapped in trust. The awareness that what you hold as true in the unseen must reveal itself in the seen. Everything that has ever come into being was first born through faith. Before any invention, healing, success, or transformation, someone believed in it before they could see it. That belief became a vibrational blueprint that life followed. The unseen hand of destiny responds not to fear, not to doubt, but to certainty. When you believe deeply and unwaveringly that something is already yours, unseen forces begin to organize themselves around your conviction. Doors open. Opportunities appear. People are drawn to you. It looks like coincidence, but it is faith in motion. Faith moves mountains, not because the mountain changes, but because you rise to a higher state of consciousness where the obstacle no longer exists. It lifts you out of limitation into alignment with divine power. You cannot possess faith and still see yourself as powerless. Faith transforms perception, and when perception changes, so does destiny. The unseen hand of life moves according to your inner belief about what is possible. Many try to live by sight, allowing appearances to dictate their state of mind. They believe when things look good and doubt when they don't. But faith asks you to believe before you see. It asks you to walk into the unknown with a steady heart, trusting that what is unseen will support you. The moment you believe, even against logic, the laws of the universe begin to bend in your favor. Life rearranges itself to match your inner state. The unseen hand moves not at random, but at the command of your conviction. Faith does not eliminate challenges, it transforms them into stepping stones. It does not remove storms, it teaches you to walk on water. When your faith becomes greater than your fear, your world begins to shift. The delays that once frustrated you start to make sense. The rejections that once hurt you reveal themselves as redirections. Every seeming setback becomes evidence that something greater is being arranged. To live by faith is to cooperate with the unseen intelligence that guides all things. It is to know that every event, every moment is conspiring to fulfill a higher plan. Faith does not wait for evidence, it creates it. It does not ask for guarantees, it becomes the guarantee. So hold your faith like a flame that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. Protect it, nurture it, speak from it, act through it. For when faith lives in you, destiny cannot resist you. The unseen hand moves in response to your belief, shaping life to mirror your trust. The stronger your faith, the faster the unseen aligns. The power you seek is not outside of you, it is within, waiting for one simple command. Believe. Everything you've walked through, every challenge, every delay, every unseen moment, it has all been leading you here. The shift has already begun. Life is turning in your favor. The unseen is moving, rearranging, aligning every piece to fulfill what your heart has long known to be true. You are no longer striving. You are stepping into what has already been prepared for you. Remember, everything begins in consciousness. Your assumption is the seed. Your belief is the soil. Your faith is the sunlight that brings it to life. What once worked against you now works for you. The divine is not delaying, it is aligning. And as you believe that it's already done, life itself will rise to meet your conviction. So walk forward with peace, speak with assurance, live as if it's already yours, because it is. You are entering a season where your faith becomes sight, your waiting becomes fulfillment, and your heart's desires unfold effortlessly. Understand. Thank you for listening. May this message remind you that you are divinely guided, deeply favored, and perfectly positioned. The shift is here, and it is all moving in your favor.